Hey there, Kipsters. Mr. Biazza here. We're looking at objectives 4.1 through 3. This is our last unit before the CST on data. And this one specifically, video, is on data displays. The three being first, stem and leaf plots. Second, histograms. And the third one for this video, circle graphs. Circle graphs. It says it. Like I said, we're going to start with stem and leaf plots, but actually we're going to start with a back-to-back stem and leaf plot. So the way that this is going to work is I'm going to start it, and you're actually going to finish the other side of the stem and leaf plot. So I have the Super Bowl scores here from 1995 to 2006. You can see all of the winning and losing scores for every single Super Bowl. So for example, in 2005, the best score, the team that won had 24 points, the team that lost had 21 points. And that was the score for that Super Bowl. I want to create a stem and leaf plot. So in the middle go the stems. And on the sides, we will have the leaves here for the winning teams. And the leaves here for the losing teams. So we're going to separate this into those two groups of data. So in order to create one for the winning team, which is what I'm going to do, I need to figure out first what the stems are going to be by looking at the tens place. By looking at the tens place, I see a stem of 4, 49, 2, 3, 3, 3, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, and 2. So it looks like all of my stems are either going to be 2, 3, or 4. So that the losing team, so that this side can use a 2 later, I also see some leaves, some stems of 1, actually even one stem of 0. So my stems are going to need to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and was there a 5? I don't see it. So I have my stems. In order to create my leaves, the winning teams, I'm going to start going from least to greatest. So the smallest score I see is 20, that's 2, 0, that's this one. Next I see 24, that's right there, 24. Next I see 20, actually, I missed one. Should have been 23, which is right there, and then 24. And then 24. Then I see 27. And that's all my 20s. Next, I'll go to my 30s. I see a 31. I see a 32. I see a 34. I see another 34. I see a 35. And that's all my 30s. Now on to my 40s, I see a 49 and a 48. So I'll write 48 first and 49. So as I'm hoping you see here, for all of these, I'm using the tens place as the stem and the ones place as the leaf. And then I'm putting them in order. Just to make sure I have them in order, I should have my 2 40s, my 1, 2, 3, 4 20s, and my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 30s. And that's all the winning teams. So that's the winning side. I'd like you to stop the video here and create the leaves for the losing side on your paper. Press play when you're ready to check your answers for the stem and leaf plot for the losing side. Okay, you tried to create the stem and leaf plot for the losing side, now it's time to check those. Going in order, the very first one should have been the 7, which had a 10th place of 0. Next, you should have been looking at the ones with in the teens, so like 17, 16, and 17. In that order, we're going to go out, so 16, 17, and 17. That's those 3. Then you're going to look at these 20s. Oops, I forgot the 19. 19. Then you look at these 20s, you have 21, 21, another 21, then a 24, a 26, and finally a 29. And that's the losing side of this STEM and leaf plot. As you can see, the numbers are still ordered from least to greatest, and the stems still represent the tens place, and the leaves still represent the ones place. So this is what the stem and leaf plot should look like for that data. Now we're going to look at histograms. And I have a set of data here about the weights in pounds of 20 cats and kittens. So I see all these weights. And the very first thing I want to do is use this to create a frequency table. And it looks like the frequencies it's giving me are by fives. 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, and 16 to 20. And I need to group them and figure out how many cats or kittens are in each group. So I'm going to do that just by counting them off into this group. So the first I'm looking between 1 and 5. I see this 5, that's 1. I don't see any others. So in total, there's just 1 in that group. Next, between 6 and 10, I see 10, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, and 10. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 in that interval. I'd like you to stop the video here and finish the frequency table for 11 to 15 and 16 to 20. Press play when you're ready to check the frequency table. Okay, checking 11 through 15. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 in that group. And then 16 through 20, there's 1, 2, 3. There's 3 in that group. So you have 1, 8, 9, and 3 in each interval. And that's the first step to be able to create a histogram. Second, we're actually going to construct the histogram using these intervals. So I'm going to start with my first interval, which goes between 1 and 5. And count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And I'm going to label my axis so that I know that here I have the frequency or the number of cats. And here I have their weight, how much they weigh. And so I'm going to create one bar for each interval. The first bar, between 1 and 5, is going to go up just to the 1. But there's only one kitten in that group. The second one, which will go between 6 and 10, goes all the way up to 8. Because there's 8 cats in that group. I'd like you to finish this frequency table by sketching it on your paper and pressing play after you've built it. So stop the video here, press play when you're ready to check your histogram. Okay, you've finished building it, so now it's time to check. The next bar between 11 and 15 should have gone all the way up to 9. And the next bar between 16 and 20 should have gone up to 3. And that's our histogram. Bottom line is on the x-axis are the weights, how much the kittens weigh in that group. And on the y-axis, that's over here, are the number of cats in that group. Moving on to our last piece, which is the circle graph. So I'm going to give you certain number of data for how many students, for the age of students in a class. Now we're going to pretend that we have just a class of 10 students. So in that class we might have 2 students who are 12. We might have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 students who are 13. And we might have, let's change it up, just so we don't have the same group size. Let's say 2 in that first group of 12-year-olds, 5 13-year-olds, and 3 14-year-olds. So 2, 5, and 3. And what I want to do is figure out how to represent this data with a circle graph by first figuring out how do I write that as a fraction, then how do I write that as a percent, and then how do I write that as degrees. So starting with the fraction, obviously you can see here that there's a total of 10 students. So that means that for the 12-year-olds, that's a total of 2 out of 10 students, which as a percent would be 20% of the group. To turn that into the number of degrees so I know how to build that circle, I know I need to find 20% of 360 degrees. And what that means, I'll do my work here. If I want to find 20% of 360, I know I need to turn my percent into a decimal. That's 20 hundredths times 360. Then I just multiply those things together, 20 hundredths times 360. And when I do, it equals 72. And so I know, I'll erase this part just so I have my answer, that this part of the circle is going to be 72 degrees. I'm not going to quite build that yet because I want to complete my table, but I'd actually like you to do this part. So stop the video here, figure out what fraction, what percent, and what degrees each of the 2 remaining intervals would be. After you've completed that table, press play so that we can check your answers and build your circle graph. Okay, you've tried, so now it's time to check. This group of 13-year-olds is 5 out of the 10 students, which is 50%. And 50% of 360 is 0.50. 50 hundredths times 360. And if you multiply those together, that would be 180 degrees. Hope you got that correct. Next, 14-year-olds, there's 3 students out of 10. 3 out of 10 would be 30%. And 30% of 360, when you found it, would be 108 degrees. I hope you got that right. So now you have these 3 groups, 72, 180, and 108, and now you need to build it. So building it, you first are going to try your best to find the middle of the circle and have a starting line. I'm going to build this group first because I know what 180 degrees is. Starting here, I know that 180 degrees is half the circle. So I know this first group right here is 180 degrees, and these are my 13-year-olds. 13-year-olds. So that's my 13-year-olds. Next, I want to do my 12-year-olds, which 72 degrees using my compass is less than 90. 90 would be right here. It'll come. 90 would be right there. So 72 is going to be right there. Here would be my 12-year-olds at 72 degrees. Then the remaining piece of 108 right here are my 14-year-olds. And now I've built the circle graph to represent this data of student ages. Now it's time for independent practice, and this is what it's going to look like. I want you to look at the following data. There are 10 values here, and do the following things. Create a 7-leaf plot, and then answer these 2 questions about it. Create a frequency table using the frequencies of 5. So for example, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 6 to 10 to 15, etc. Then answer these 2 questions about it. Then create a histogram for that data using the frequency table. Then answer those 2 questions about it. And last, create a circle graph for that data. And then answer these 2 questions about it. That's 8 questions in total. If you complete these and do well in them, you should be ready to retake objective assessment 4A.1 through 3. Good luck.